These are satellite images of the Korean peninsula. From here, you can see that the Korean peninsula looks as peaceful as any other place on Earth. But here the fire is still smoldering and just waiting to explode. Before comparing the military power in detail and assuming what might happen if war broke out, let's take a look at the relative area and population of these two countries that used to be one. Area comparison. North Korea, Democratic People's Republic of Korea, area, 120.540 square kilometers. North Korea is a country with mountainous terrain that covers most of its area. It borders China and Russia to the north, the Sea of Japan to the east, and the Yellow Sea to the west. South Korea, Republic of Korea, area, 100.363 square kilometers. South Korea is smaller in area than North Korea, with most of the country being mountainous, and the coastal areas being developed. South Korea borders North Korea to the north, and is also geographically well positioned by the East Sea and the Yellow Sea. Population comparison. North Korea, population, approximately 26 million. Despite its larger area, North Korea's population is much lower than South Korea's, partly due to harsh living conditions and limited economic development. North Korea has a high birth rate, but a lower standard of living and life expectancy due to a lack of healthcare, food, and infrastructure. South Korea, population, approximately 51 million. South Korea, despite its smaller area, has twice the population of North Korea. The country has a strong economy, modern infrastructure, and a high quality of life, leading to a high level of urbanization and a thriving urban economy. Imagine South Korea as a crowded, bustling city with skyscrapers, while North Korea is more like a sparsely populated countryside, with simpler infrastructure and a less modern lifestyle. Area. North Korea is about 20.000 square kilometers larger than South Korea. Population. South Korea has twice the population of North Korea. Population density. South Korea is much more densely populated, especially in urban areas, while North Korea is less populated and has many mountainous areas. This difference reflects the division not only in terms of physical but also in terms of economic and social development between the two countries on the Korean peninsula. Comparing military strength and reserves. North Korea, the Korean People's Army, KPA, has about 1.2 million active soldiers, one of the largest forces in the world in terms of personnel. In addition, they have about 6 million reservists, mostly civilians with basic military training, ready to join the fight if needed. South Korea, the South Korean military is much smaller in terms of personnel, with about 500,000 active soldiers and about 3.1 million reservists. Despite being outnumbered, South Korea has a better organized and trained reserve force, and they receive support from the United States. North Korea has a much larger number of tanks and artillery than South Korea. Specifically, North Korea possesses about 6.000 tanks, mostly T-55s, T-62s, and some domestically produced models based on old Soviet technology, along with thousands of self-propelled guns and rocket launchers. North Korea has invested heavily in artillery, with thousands of guns positioned near the border that can shell Seoul in just minutes. South Korea, although outnumbered, with about 2.400 tanks and a smaller artillery force, South Korea's vehicles are much more modern and advanced. South Korea possesses K2 Black Panther tanks, among the best tanks in the world, with outstanding defensive and offensive capabilities. The Korean K9 Thunder self-propelled artillery system is also very effective and has been exported to many countries. Air Force. North Korea. The North Korean Air Force has about 950 aircraft, but most of them are old Soviet-era aircraft. such as the MiG-29, MiG-21, and Su-25. Despite the large number, the quality and performance of these aircraft are limited by outdated technology. Even the ability to maintain and service North Korea's aircraft is a big question mark. South Korea, in contrast. South Korea owns about 600 modern aircraft, including the F-35A Lightning II, F-15K, and KF-16. In particular, the F-35A is a fifth-generation fighter with stealth capabilities and advanced radar systems, giving it a distinct advantage over the North Korean Air Force. In addition, South Korea also plans to develop its own indigenous fighter, the KF-21 Borami, which is expected to be launched in the next few years. Navy. North Korea. The North Korean Navy mainly consists of old warships and small submarines. They have about 430 ships, but most of them are small and not capable of operating far from shore. North Korea's submarines, including the Sinpo class, are capable of launching ballistic missiles, but are limited in technology and range. South Korea. The South Korean Navy is more modernized. They have about 160 ships, but that includes Sejong the Great class stealth destroyers, Sunwon Il class submarines, and amphibious aircraft carriers. South Korea is also investing in developing its own aircraft carrier, which is expected to be completed in the next decade. Nuclear weapons and missiles. North Korea. This is the highlight of the North Korean military. They have about 20 to 60 nuclear warheads. Estimates are not accurate due to state secrets. North Korea has also developed intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, capable of reaching the United States, such as the Hwasong-14 and Hwasong-15. Although these systems are not perfect, the destructive potential of North Korea's nuclear weapons is something the world is concerned about. South Korea. South Korea does not possess nuclear weapons, but they are under the nuclear umbrella of the United States. This means that if North Korea attacks South Korea with nuclear weapons, the United States will respond with nuclear warheads of its own. South Korea is also developing tactical ballistic missiles that can accurately hit targets in North Korea. Comparison. If North Korea has a nuclear dagger ready to stab at any time, South Korea has a protective shield from its powerful ally, the United States. Outside support. South Korea. The biggest difference is that South Korea has strong support from the United States with about 28,500 US troops permanently stationed in South Korea. In the event of war, this force would quickly support South Korea, and the United States would provide all resources from Air Force, Navy to modern missile defense systems. North Korea. North Korea does not have a strong international ally that provides direct military support like South Korea. Although China still has a close relationship with North Korea, China does not seem to want to deeply intervene in military affairs on the Korean peninsula. In short, North Korea has a larger army and focuses on quantity of weapons, but lacks modern technology. Meanwhile, South Korea, although smaller in number, has an advantage in technology and strong support from the United States. Both have their own strengths, but if war breaks out, South Korea's superior quality and the strength of its international allies will be the deciding factors. If South Korea is attacked, Seoul is the capital and largest city in South Korea. It has a population of nearly 10 million, accounting for about 1/5 of the population of South Korea. Since the reign of King Teoli Song-gi in 1394, Seoul, then called Honyang, was chosen as the capital of the Joseon dynasty. The reason is simple: the location is extremely strategic. The city is located right next to the Han River, Hangang, has abundant water resources, easy to transport, and is surrounded by hills to block wind and avoid storms. It's like choosing a house that is beautiful, close to the market, and easy to defend. The city was planned from scratch. During the Korean War, Seoul was considered the main battlefield and was repeatedly fought over between the armies of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, also known as North Korea or North Korea, and the Republic of Korea, also known as South Korea or South Korea, causing the city to be almost completely destroyed after the war. An attack on Seoul would cause heavy damage. With a city population of over 10 million, and a metropolitan area of over 20 million. It is one of the most populous cities in the world. At the same time, the capital Seoul is also only 48 kilometers from the inter-Korean demilitarized zone that separates North and South Korea. For most militaries around the world, artillery is just one component of a multi-service force that includes infantry, armor, missiles, etc. However, North Korea's strategic location, within striking range of Seoul, has led many experts to believe that its artillery and rocket launchers are capable of leveling the South Korean capital in just a few days. Like a weapon of mass destruction. For example, Seoul has a huge system of shelters for its citizens, helping to reduce the population density that is put at risk. On the other hand, US and South Korean forces would certainly quickly track down and destroy North Korean artillery units participating in the attack on Seoul. This would reduce the number of North Korean artillery units participating in the war almost immediately. South Korea builds its own Iron Dome to protect the capital from North Korean long-range artillery. South Korea's defense ministry said today that the country will develop its own interception system modeled after Israel's Iron Dome to protect core infrastructure in the capital Seoul from the threat of North Korean long-range artillery. The deployment of the system is expected to begin in the late 2020s or early 2030s. Why not move the capital? When the Korean peninsula was divided in 1945, the border between North Korea and South Korea was located at the 38th parallel, very close to Seoul. During the Korean War, 1950 to 1953, Seoul was occupied many times and suffered heavy damage. It was thought that South Korea would consider moving the capital elsewhere. But no. They still decided to love Seoul to the end. Seoul is not only the political center but also the cultural heart of Korea for more than 600 years. Seoul is not only the capital but also the largest economic center of Korea. Giant corporations such as Samsung, Hyundai, LG are all headquartered here. The whole country relies on Seoul's economic power. And especially about 50% of the Korean population lives in this area. Moving the capital is like asking them to leave the capital of the economy. And not everyone wants to go anywhere. Moving the capital is not like moving from one province to another, but a huge project. Imagine having to rebuild all the infrastructure, from government offices to transportation, and then having to move for millions of people. The cost would be billions of dollars. Not to mention it would take decades to complete. That's not to mention the social problems when forcing a bunch of people to leave the place they've been attached to. In fact, South Korea has also thought about moving the capital. The South Korean government has considered moving the capital to Sejong, an administrative city about 120 kilometers south of Seoul, to reduce the load and avoid the risk from North Korea. However, in the end, Seoul remained the official capital for overwhelming historical, cultural and economic reasons.